Again, we come together for fivesies. Another little chat. I've got my almost empty drink. Typically, my mother would be there with a glass of red wine.
Yeah.
And, chewing the fat, as she used to describe it. It's simply that time of coming together to talk, to share thoughts on something. And typically it was something that was meaningful. My mother was a very, very philosophical lady, very compassionate lady, and big reader. The conversations I used to be able to have with her and that I would eavesdrop when she had friends, just lovely the way it waxed and waned through many different things. So today, what are we going to chew the fat on? Good morning there, Ms. Vicki, from the one side of the country to the other. Welcome to our little catch-up fivesies.
Oh, I'll have to say good afternoon to you, Keryn, from my side of Australia, my side of the world. Yes.
Look, it still gets me.
Yeah.
And I've lived in this bod for 62 years. It still gets me that I can be, coming up midday and, you're into my future.
I'm in the future, yeah.
Oh, you're in my future. But you are literally into my future.
Yes,
And who says time travel doesn't exist, eh?
I know. I always say, whenever I have a nap, I always say I'm time traveling because I go to sleep and then I'll wake up in the future. Don't know what happened.
Oh, I like that.
Yes.
I like that. We should be doing more of that. Time travel.
I think so. Yeah, time travel.
Fivesies is about doing a little bit of a ponder on what has happened in life.
Yeah.
And as we used to say, chewing the fat.
Yes.
And goodness me, so much has happened. And I'm going to be ballsy enough to say Donald Trump has been elected. Donald Trump has been elected as the Commander-in-Chief of the US of A. And it only happened last week, but OMG, our government here in Australia is out there talking about how it's going to impact on our standard of living. And there's a lot of fear ideas going out there. America is coming to terms with basically half the country saying, I didn't want this. The other half, that was just the bigger of the half, if one can have a bigger half, said, yep, this is what we're doing. That reality in the physical world, that everything is energy and everything is connected. And we can't ignore it.
No.
The mere fact that he was elected sent waves, I felt, through the world. And I'm just going, guys, stop and breathe. Please, everybody, stop and breathe.
I must admit, at first I was, when I was watching the elections unfold, was quite not shocked. I sort of had, you had that sort of inkling because it was never really sure who was going to win or not. And I think I was watching a lot of the left-leaning stuff to see what was being said. And at first I was, probably for the first 12 hours, it's like, oh. And then without thinking about the implications for Australia or any people who like healthcare in the US or our trade agreements, all those sorts of things, how it's going to filter back across to us culturally. And then I realised that there is a purpose behind this person being elected.
Yes,
and I'm just really curious to see how things play out and what that's going to bring. Nothing ever is by accident, or it's by a bigger design. That's my belief. And I'm interested to watch how that bigger design plays out. How is it going to impact me? I mean, for me personally, I have more privilege than a lot of other people, so I can probably be a bit more comfortable about how impacts and so forth. But down the track, I'm curious to see what this actually is going to, um, how this affects, or how this is going to make America probably the biggest or strongest country in the world with all they have. How this is going to impact them? Is it going to bring them down? Is it going to lift them up? Is it, you know, I want to see what happens, because I have a good feeling about what that outcome will be. Does that make sense? I don't know how else to explain it. It's just like a feeling, like it's like maybe a cleansing or something. I don't know. Yeah.
The reality is change. We are in a world of change.
Change, yeah.
We are 8 days away from Pluto sitting in the sign of Aquarius for the next 17 odd years.
Yeah.
And it's been over the past 2 years going in and out of Capricorn, which has really been tidying up the structures, the boundaries, the foundations that were no longer serving.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they had to go.
Yeah.
Now, we live in a world where everybody has their own thoughts and their own beliefs, but typically there's going to be someone or some group in power, in inverted commas, that goes forth and makes decisions. And we've moved out of the 1900s, that century where it was a patriarchal based world. It just was.
Yeah.
And we have, by necessity, because the pendulum, you can't stop a pendulum swinging, we've moved into a world that is demanding a softening of the energy. It's demanding that the patriarchal come masculine energy, not talking gender, I'm talking energy.
No. Energy, yeah.
Step back, because the feminine, that softer, receiving energy, because the masculine energy is all about action, that receiving energy wants to be seen and be heard. And it's been happening.
Yeah.
So it's that last, it's structures, whether we've agreed with it or not, they have been dismantled.
Yeah.
So the path is now free for whatever this next bit is. And I love the fact that you're staying curious.
Yes.
It's in that curiosity that you have a sense of comfort and a sense of strength, because there's not a questioning or a resistance to, it's simply a space of observing. To go, okay, what's next? What's next? But you're not giving away your power in that space, are you?
No.
You're just saying, what's next?
Your words that you used, I am reminded about how I felt even the last couple of years or so leading up, is that it's almost like the out of date energy, that sort of patriarchal energy, is being forced into almost like a very narrow space, that it becomes so not radicalized, but it has nowhere. It doesn't grow. It's destructive, and it's almost on that last bit, at last gasp. And when something's ready to be destroyed and completely razed to the ground, it has that last gasp. It has that last bit of fight, and it looks ugly in us, and it must almost be I don't want to use, I'm going to use like a bit of a medical term, but it's almost like it has to be lanced. It's something that, like, if there's something on the skin that's infected, it must be lanced, and for that to pour out so that the healing can take place. And that's how I see
healing.
this.
Absolutely, it's about the healing.
Yeah.
And whether, it is my belief, and I'm going to be bold and say it's your belief, that we are part of a bigger energy.
Yeah.
And we are working in a co-creative space with this bigger energy. And there, the bigger energy is always working, whether we're engaged with it or not. It's always working because it's
Yes.
a collection of everybody that's here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's there certainly is no need to be fearful, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
No. No.
However, if people choose to be fearful, what they see will make them fearful.
Yes. Yes. And it regenerates. It tends to feed into itself and create a loop. Yeah.
It does. It does. And it's ballsy for you
Yeah.
to hear you say you're curious about watching. It's the vision I get is that you're inside a home. It's like a little child inside the home and leaning out the window. The window's open. You're leaning on the sill and you're looking at what's
Mm.
going on.
Mm.
There's a safety and a security because you know you.
Yeah.
And what can people do about the right here, right now? Learn who you are.
Who
Get
you are. Yeah.
connected with your values.
Yeah.
And if anybody that's listening to our conversation here, our chewing of the fat, if they are not conscious of their top 5 values, I invite them to go and give some
Good
thought.
point. Very good point. That's a very good point. Without those knowing of those values, it's very easy to become like pushed into one thing or another with like because you're not strong enough to stand up for what you believe in. So you'll, as I say, you'll fall for anything. And in that space, and as much as like I love that analogy of them being here looking out the window, but in that space of being curious and knowing myself and being aware, when action is required, I'm ready to go.
Oh, you'll be buzzing down the stairs, running out the front door, and you'll be there.
100%, because I'm observing. Yeah, I'm getting all goosebumps talking about that.
And it's
when it's required,
resonating with you, and
yeah,
I'm pointing to the heart space.
yeah,
You know what is yours.
yeah,
At some level, you know. And to trust that you can wake up each day and go, wow, I wonder what's happening today.
mm, mm.
And look, let's be honest, Trump is unpredictable.
Oh yes,
Okay, let's
yeah,
just leave it at that. He is unpredictable.
yeah,
So he can say something, go, wow, I'm going to watch and
yeah,
see where this goes. And we here in Australia absolutely are going to be feeling the ripples of everything and anything that is happening from now
yeah,
for the next 4 years.
yeah.
And you know what's going on up in the heavens.
And I want to add to that it's very important that your diet of information resonates with who you are. Like the fear can be exacerbated by somebody else's fear. If you're looking at something on the media or you're talking to friends and family, and you you love them, you resonate with them, you're always connecting energetically with them, sometimes that can spill over into your own energy. If you listen to them, that can actually start to you start to question. It's why knowing yourself is extremely important, because when you start to feel it in the body, you can pull back and say, hang on, is this me or is this somebody else? It's so easy to get swept up in that tide of fear. And then before you know it, you're either going to keep going down that road or having to wind yourself back to where you started again and having to start again and take off from there. So your environment, how you're feeding yourself with information and who you're surrounding yourself with, not about an echo chamber of people who agree with you, but more so people that you trust. And when they start talking, if it's scaring you, then what's that word? What's it saying that? If something that you hear is frightening you, then that's the job that it was meant to do. If
Absolutely.
it's feeding you something that is relevant and something that is nourishing, whether it's good or bad news, you will be able to feel it in the body and not get frightened, because with that information, we're able to act or accept. surrender to it. And so we'll know that within ourselves. We'll stay in that sort of calm space. Yeah, that's my
Yeah,
add
it's
to that. Mm.
what you have just shared is showing me that there is there's a sense of safety and security in being anchored in who you are.
Yes,
So going back to having an analogy of a little boat that's anchored
yes,
deep down into the bottom of the ocean. When those waves are big, that boat is going to be moving quite strongly. So when you're in the environment or the vicinity of someone that challenges you quite strongly,
yeah,
you trust that that anchor is going to hold you and you're going to feel it. And feeling it is okay. It's like it reminds you of how strong your anchor is.
yes, yeah,
And one of the things for me in this little planet of Pluto moving into Aquarius,
mm,
Aquarius is a very community based sign. And yet, communities are made up of individuals.
yeah,
This idea of death and transformation, thanks to Pluto, there is this clearing to make way for the new. I really don't know how strong my values are, and if indeed they've shifted, unless someone
interesting.
comes and challenges it.
Interesting. Very good. That's the
And then
echo
I go,
chamber, right?
oh, hang
100%.
on.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
okay. Oh, I kind of like a little bit of that. And oh, so
yeah,
suddenly
yeah,
we're being flexed
yeah,
to say, how strong are you?
yes,
And this is essential
yes.
because to float around in the boat on the flat water, say, oh, look how safe I am. How do I know that? Until
You
it's
don't know. Yeah,
tested,
yeah,
tried, whatever
yeah,
words you want to use. And I feel
yeah,
that's with Trump having been given the mantle to go, right, you're now chief and commander, formally in January, the whole world is going, hey, whoa.
mm,
And, again, we're sitting here saying, hey, guys, breathe and ask
mm,
yourself, okay, how do I feel about this? Yep. Where do I stand on this? Yep. But appreciating that the other person is like me. They are
yeah,
another form of me, not to other them. It's not me versus you, it's me
mm.
and you.
And you. Yes. It's so important. That's really great. I really resonate with the cultivating those relationships that we trust, even if they
Absolutely.
oppose our views, because they keep us honest to ourselves. And if there is something that we're perpetuating within ourselves that we really don't believe, and we want to push back on it, then we don't believe. We can feel that in ourselves and go back and re-examine what it is that we do believe. Is there something that we need to shift within ourselves or that's going to help us? We are carrying something around with us.
But
And I
surely
think,
it's always going to be
yeah,
us that needs to do the shift.
yes, yes,
I can't say, hey, Vicky, no, 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 you need to just do a little bit of rethinking there so you agree with me. No, it's a case
mm,
of, oh, okay, Vicky, I hear that. Yeah, all right, I need to go back and revisit, rework, renovate,
yeah,
because nothing in life is static. Nothing
mm-hmm,
is
mm-hmm,
static. And yes,
correct,
I'm
yeah,
talking to myself here, say, Keryn, these definitions, good old Capricorn rising, these things that have worked for so long. No, you must be open to how have they shifted today, Keryn?
yeah, 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 yeah,
Because they will. It's almost expecting
yeah,
that there's going to be a shift. Because look, even in the little home that I live in,
yeah,
the bricks must be shifting because Mother Earth is shifting. The limestone on that must be shifting. Just that I don't see it or hear it doesn't mean it ain't happening. But everything shifts.
everything shifts. And it's like even those tiny shifts, it shifts our perspective as well. Like even the tiniest shift in our perspective, we get to see something that we missed
Absolutely.
before. It's like, oh, hang
Absolutely.
on, whoa!
Look,
It
I'm
sort
going to
of
share
realigns everything.
a little story that I still remember. Bless him, a maths teacher of mine. And he said to me, or asked me in a class, he said, right, Keryn, What would happen if a trajectory of a rocket is off by a degree? Well, I smiled sweetly, curly haired, and said, "Oh, I really don't know, Mr. Maguire." And he said, "Well, if you're heading to the moon and that trajectory is off by 1 degree," he said, "God knows where you're going to end up. Because the further away from Earth you get, the bigger the angle." Okay, now that's a 1 degree being
1 degree.
off.
Yeah,
You extrapolate that,
yeah,
and goodness knows where you end up. So yeah, the impact, as you're putting it beautifully, on that minute shift can be huge. And bottom line, we
huge.
really don't know.
Don't know. No,
But
it can
energy is
be. Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, yeah,
Energy is perfect.
yeah. And it's always the perfect moment, and it's always the perfect time.
Absolutely.
And my experience is my experience. It's nobody else's. And your experience is your experience, and it's nobody else's. And when we are certain within ourselves that I am who I am, and even if I double down on something that may not be okay for me at the time, it's still a perfect experience for me. And it's for no one else to come in, for me to jump in on anybody else, or for anyone else to jump in on me.
Yeah.
You said it beautifully. That's perfect. There was that's right. There was something else I wanted to. You touched on a couple of times about the chaos of Trump and how people feel about it and how it's sort of been building. We already know this, that uncertainty that comes with it, and it kept popping into my mind a couple of times, and I thought about it when those the even though politicians that rose up through the 90s, the early noughts in
Mhm.
Australia, and they came with their division and their hate and their othering of people, and everyone's going, "Oh no, you've got all this," and I was thinking, I sat with it for a little bit because I thought, yeah, it is a bit weird. I didn't like it myself. I thought, if somebody has that level of discomfort and anger and hate within them, these leaders are giving them an opportunity to express it. If it's buried, even their good deeds are filtered through this hate. When it's out, they can no longer deny or ignore it. And that type of anger and hate is short-lived. It is not something that can be maintained.
No.
And then you might find something else to fuel it, like another radical idea or another. You can latch on to whatever it is, but eventually you're going to run out of steam. And the thing that comes after that, all of that anger expressed, all of that old hurt out in the open, the only thing that comes afterwards is healing. You can't run away from it forever.
No,
And
you
so as much as it's horrible, I know that it's horrible, but people getting to express their hate is better out than in. So, and
even
again,
the
it's
fire
yeah, yeah,
eventually just extinguishes
yeah,
itself.
yeah,
And yes, the devastation that occurs with fire, huge.
yeah,
And again, my father and his wife live about an hour up north, and I get to drive along the edge of a forest to go and see them. And after a fire, what we call our grass trees. When I was growing up, they were called black boys, but we now
yeah.
call them grass
Grass trees,
trees.
yeah,
The black is so black, and then when you see the green popping out, oh my God, it's like it has this divine light shining on it
yeah. It's
because of the
refreshing. Yeah,
vibrancy of it.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
just think, wow, there's a visual contrast of what has happened and, the reminder,
Mm,
new life.
yeah.
And again, welcome to the cycle of life.
Of
There
life,
has
yeah.
got to be the death for the birth.
Correct.
It's just that
Yeah,
continuation.
yeah.
And it,
I agree. I also, well, I love it when I see that green coming out, when I see that renewal. It brings with it. I mean, I often think that I've got unlocking a memory here, but when I used to work in a closed office and with all the computer screens everywhere, they put artificial plants around because they said, look up. if you want to give your eyes a rest, to look at the green, because the green gives your eyes a rest. And it really resonated when you're talking about the green coming up, because it gives a sense of peace and like renewal, that life happens.
It's a
Yes.
green like no other
Yeah. Yeah.
when I have seen it here in our Australian bush.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. Beautiful. Yeah.
And the
It's hope.
trees.
It's a sign of hope. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, it is. It's that
Yeah.
everything's going to be okay, Keryn, as I'm driving
Out
home.
of devastation comes hope. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the idea of devastation, let's be honest, it's a word that we humans have put onto what we have seen. But for some forests to be able to keep growing, they need some form of, I'll use the word
Structure.
culling, but
Mm.
cleansing out,
Mm.
cleaning out, because even if
Mm.
a forest keeps growing, 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 it will implode in some way, shape, or form because there's no
Yeah.
space for the undergrowth. Just
Yeah.
there's a cycle. There is a cycle, and it's Mother Nature will throw down those little bolts of lightning, and it'll hit a spot, and it just yes, it is devastating, but again, it's a judgment call on our behalf, isn't it? The
It
word
is.
devastation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I I think that I do want to acknowledge that you and I share a level of privilege where these sorts of things can be looked at from afar. We don't have, well, me personally, I don't know about you, but I don't have any direct attacks on me at the moment. But it is around me and makes me uncomfortable. So it's not happening to me personally. So I just want to acknowledge that those people or those humans out there that are having them happen to directly, this is no way an acknowledgement that we're
thank
not
you.
seeing you.
We
We
are
are,
in
we are
space.
yeah, very privileged,
Absolutely.
yeah. But again, we're talking energetically as well. As much as we're using an analogy of nature and things like that, as much as we're talking about hate being spewed and so forth, it is directly linked to energy and how
Absolutely.
energy is like renewed, if you like. And so, yeah, just wanted to acknowledge that we do have a bit of privilege here. Yeah.
We do.
Mm.
Absolutely. And again, it is perspective. There are
Perspective.
some people that
Yeah.
may be in our space that
Mm.
don't see themselves as privileged. But look, thank you for the reminder. Words are
Mm.
very powerful.
Very powerful. Mm.
Words are
Mm.
very, very powerful. And from the space that you and I have of everything happens with purpose,
Yeah.
that's the good, the bad, the everything in between. And it's not for us to understand
No.
the why, but this is my belief. I believe that
Mm.
everything, and I've gone through enough in my life to look back and
Yes.
question,
Yes.
but there is some comfort in me going, okay, there are times I know I'm going to leave this earth
Yeah.
with questions unanswered in this lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know what? I find it's for me to find peace with that.
Yes. Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll drive myself crazy. It's that, my belief is things
Yeah.
happen in
Yeah.
divine timing.
And
Um,
that's, yes. And to
it's
acknowledge that we have had our own trials and tribulations. Nobody knows your trauma and nobody knows my trauma and how devastating that's been in my life as well.
absolutely,
So, yes, we
absolutely.
have grown through that. We have been through that. We stand here tall and ready to stand by people um, who are downtrodden, who are, well, listen,
Anybody
well,
that feels that their life isn't flowing the way that they would like, I would like to gently say to them, I hear you.
yes,
And it is my belief that there is something within you that can help you
yes,
shift that.
yeah. And that's the work we do.
And
We
this,
bring that to the
that
light.
you and
Yes,
I have just said, yes, we're going to be here at this time. I
yeah,
believe I chose the day, month, and year to come in. So I'm the age I am with the wisdom I have to be here with the world going through its own
at
little
this time.
little
Yes,
play. And everybody is.
yeah,
Everybody has a role to play. As I say, everybody is a spice of some type. And if we didn't have a
yeah,
variety of spices, we wouldn't be able to do curries. Everybody everybody is. Cumin doesn't
yeah,
care what. coriander does. Cumin is cumin.
No.
Coriander is coriander. But again, it sounds
Yeah.
funny,
Yeah.
but that's life.
It's true. Absolutely true. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
my apricot tree didn't think anything else other than it's growing up to be an apricot tree.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we're the
Yeah.
ones that, yeah, we question who
Yeah.
we
Too
are.
much. A little bit too much. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's but hopefully we
Those
can
deep
be
thoughts.
positive with all of our thoughts and our questions.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
lots to question at the moment.
So much. I'm glad you brought that up. There's so much. Um, and perhaps I was feeling a little bit numb from everything because it's really only been a week. Oh, not even a week
Yeah.
since all of that came to pass. And there's been so much discourse, so much, you know, sadness and then happiness and whatever's going on.
But
And
life
then
goes
there's some
on.
people who have no idea. Okay, doesn't
Yeah.
bother them.
And
So, yeah,
it takes everything and it
yeah,
takes everyone.
yeah,
And it's fascinating to see what we see.
yeah,
I can
yeah,
remember when I was first told that I was pregnant, all I saw when I left the doctor's surgery were pregnant women.
yeah.
And I laughed and said, I'm sure they haven't just arrived. But that's where my energy was. You know,
Yeah,
I was in the world that
yeah,
embraced
yeah.
women.
Mm.
Um,
That's
it's
actually, yeah, yeah. Go on. What were you
it's
going to say?
interesting when I'm working with clients that have
Yeah,
an energetic imbalance of a color, and their higher
yeah,
self said, "Right, you need more. Let's say blue in your
yeah,
life, more cooling and calming." When they leave here, you know, all they see on the way home are blue cars.
yeah.
It's not magic.
No,
It's a case of this
no.
is what you need. I'm
It's
giving
been
it to
unlocked.
you. Are
Yeah.
you open to seeing it?
Mhm. Mhm.
And when I was told I was pregnant, suddenly the door opened for me to see that.
Yeah.
And it happens all the time. So if we talk about Trump, and when we're talking about Trump, we're not talking about what matters to us. We're talking about him. Then that's all we're going to see. You'll see him on the fronts of
Yes.
magazines,
Yeah.
papers, TV.
Yeah.
They're in the
Yeah.
radio. That will fill your that energy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not Trump as the person. I'm talking about the energy of the whole
Yeah.
situation will fill our world. And then I invite you to say, well, is that the world that benefits you right here, right now? Chances are there's something else that is more closer to
Mm.
home
Mm.
that is going to serve you and your thought process.
Yeah. I like the idea actually. I was reading a discussion about how we're so disparate at the moment. Like the internet is so huge and there's so much misinformation, disinformation out there. And it's almost like a return to the smaller communities, the smaller sort of little groups. And even though we're not separate from each other, we find each other in those spaces. And then we find all those other little spaces, a commonality that joins us back together again, so that we create something that resonates with who we are, rather than being divided and like spread out and continually kept in a place of fear. So it is a choice about how you want to
It
perceive
really
things
is.
and perceive the world. Yeah, yeah.
And it is also supported by universal law of like
Yes,
attracts like.
yes,
So if
yes,
you're out
yes,
there
yeah,
reading, even
yeah,
simply sitting
yeah.
in front of a paper reading about Trump,
Yeah.
that energy that is associated with
Mm,
everything
mm,
that is connected with him
mm.
will be there.
Yeah,
You know, it will be there. And you've just got to
yeah.
go, okay, is this what I choose?
Mm.
You know, because suddenly I don't
Yeah,
see you're in your own boat.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you can feel it in your body if it doesn't resonate with you. You'll feel not well, you'll feel out of sorts, your mind won't be clear.
Well, you certainly have the capacity to,
Yeah,
unless you're truly
yes,
conscious. Let's be honest, you won't.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
won't be feeling how it's happening to you because
yeah.
there's almost a level of disassociation.
Correct. Yeah,
And
yeah,
that,
yeah,
again, where you and I come in with our ability to help people
yeah,
heal their energy flow. And it might be a simple reminder. You know, there may be somebody that listens to this and they go, okay, yeah, I've got the ability to set the parameters as to what energy fills my day. I'm going to turn my mobile phone off. I'm going to have an old school timeout day
Yeah.
and go and, sit outside in a chair and
Yeah.
listen
Yeah.
to everything.
Yeah. That's not a bad idea. It's a good little exercise to do that.
What's that? Sitting outside.
Time out day and sit outside and just listen. Just
Tell you what,
observe. Yeah.
I heard about it yesterday and I suddenly thought, oh, I live with my phone and my computer.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, 7 days a week it's
Yeah.
on
All the
and I'm
time.
connecting with it. And I
All the
thought,
time.
oh, how bold am I to say to myself, and I would put it out to my people to go, hey, let's say Sunday is my day out. Please feel free to message. Do not expect me to return.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
connect in
Yeah.
on Monday.
Yeah.
I don't think that my followers would have an issue. I think I'm going to be the one with the issue because it's so easy in my world to be in this digital world
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
time. And to
Yeah.
step out is like, oh, now what do I do? What do I
Yeah.
do?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's that remembrance.
Yeah.
I go, oh, okay, yeah, I'm cool.
Or be bored. Allow yourself to be bored.
Oh, how confronting that sounds to be bored.
True. I think that creativity comes out of boredom, doesn't it?
Oh,
I mean, we
really?
haven't. Yeah.
Okay, that has got me thinking. Creativity comes out of boredom.
Yeah. So what can I do? It doesn't always have to be, really positive for the world. It can also be destructive creativity coming out of that as well. Depends if you're an evil genius or not.
Well, see, isn't that funny? I thought destructive of eating a chocolate and hazelnut muffin, as destructive because I'm sure my body just doesn't like it. And that's what I did this morning, and my body is not liking it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but again, it's that we have the power
Yeah.
to influence our world. This is really what
Yes.
you and I are
Yeah.
saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
We simply do.
We
Now,
do. We
that's a
do.
belief you and I have. For someone that
Yeah.
doesn't have that belief, chances are it's going to challenge them.
Yeah.
But
I
it's
have to.
how we've been
Yeah.
made.
I have to confess, Keryn, that when I'm challenged with something that I don't, an outdated belief that I don't want to give up, I get very stubborn. I don't want to give that up. So I really like. Sometimes I have to still go through the mill
You get
in order
stubborn.
to.
Do you have any Taurian energy in your
Well,
chart?
I'm Capricorn. I don't know. I'm not very familiar with my chart because I don't know my date of birth, my time of birth, I should say.
So
But I'm
you're a
gonna.
Capricorn sun, are you?
Yeah, Capricorn sun. Yeah, yeah.
Ah. Well, maybe
And I
that's
was
why you and
born.
I connect so well, because I'm a
Yeah.
Capricorn rising.
Oh, there you go.
And yes, someone has described me as stubborn. I go, me? No. But yeah,
Yeah, it is a thing, and I think that that, I mean those challenges that turn up for us, and it never goes away. People think, oh, this is always happening to me. Well, it never goes away. However, it turns up because, well, the belief has kept you safe up until this point, and the fact that that belief is uncomfortable now means that that danger has passed. And so it's something that you don't need anymore. It's outdated. It doesn't have any energy anymore. But we keep trying to spark it up with energy by doing this or doing that. And for me, until I get to the point where it's like, fine, whatever. It's that point of surrender. I almost like have to
it
kick
is.
it to, or, whip it to death, as they say, or whatever, But yeah, it's an ongoing thing. We're never, you and I are not immune to those things. I know I am. I am speaking for you, and I don't mean to be so bold, but we all get challenged, and we think, oh, hang on, that's something I believe in. Oh, if I let that go, what's going to happen on the other side of it? I've got to hang on to it. It's like, well,
I'm going to step in here and say it's interesting that you have used, and I would also use the word challenged.
yeah,
Okay. Now that if the energy of the word challenge gets my goat up, it fires me up.
Yeah.
As you have said, you don't
Yeah.
appreciate being challenged, neither do I. Now,
Yeah.
can we rephrase that to
Yeah.
go, okay, something's got my attention here. Something's making me feel unsettled. Something is activating some energy
Mm.
within me. Okay, the word challenge has energy for me
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I choose when I catch myself to go, oh, hang on, can I? Because for me, I'm fueling my fire. If I tell
Yeah.
myself I'm being challenged, somebody is against me, and how dare they? I'm like, yeah, I'll become indignant. But indeed,
Yeah.
we don't know that something no longer serves us
Oh.
until it's got our attention to go, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like it's a
Yeah.
pair of shoes that you've outgrown. And every time you
Discomfort.
put them
Yeah.
on, you're going to get a
Yeah.
blister. And then
Yeah.
you can go, oh, gosh, I've got another blister. And I say, well, is it time for those shoes to move on? Is it time for a more comfort?
Yeah.
But they've always fitted. Well, they're now in, it's that shift.
Yeah.
It's that
Yeah.
nothing
Yeah.
stays the same. The
Discomfort is
opposite.
your best friend. Discomfort is your best friend. That's your clue. That's your clue that things are shifted. Yeah.
But yes, I feel that
Yeah.
challenge maybe can be taken out of for me,
Yeah. No, I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
it has
Yeah.
energy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but again, that's how I choose to live my
Yeah.
life. For some
Yeah.
people, they might just go, "Oh, Keryn, off you go again." I go, "Cool, all right." But it is my belief that everything, and that includes words, have
Yeah.
energy, and you're
Yeah.
putting it out there, and you go, "Oh, is that serving me?"
Yeah.
And
All
it
good.
comes,
Yeah. They're great questions to ask yourself.
it
They're
is,
great things to think like to like question. Is this serving me?
yeah.
What I am
We
uncomfortable.
know,
Yeah.
we know
Yeah.
because we know a definition of the word serve,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's for me a
Mm.
positive thing. And not everything serves,
Mm.
and it
Mm.
might not serve today, but it might serve tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah. Yeah.
So
And it's always a process. Correct. There's always a beginning and an end. So never stress that it's never going to end.
yeah, but if you don't mind, I won't focus on the end bit. I'm just going to stay right here, right
Right
now,
here.
and go,
Yeah. Yeah.
having fun,
Yeah.
having fun, having fun. All right, Missy, I think we have yabbered and chewed the fat for a little
Oh,
while.
I felt that shift too. Did you feel the energy shift? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, yeah. Well,
Yep.
that's fabulous. Yeah. Well, thanks.
You are such a wonderful energy to co-create with and to bounce off. It's
I
just
love it too. Thank you, Keryn. I feel the same way. You help me think. You challenge some ideas that I have, and I just go away feeling uplift. Not when I say challenge is that word again. Oh no,
it's interesting, isn't it?
well, it's I think it's a lot of that sort of It's not. I'm not. It's not that I'm not a change. Like I don't mind change. I don't mind shifting. But when it challenges me, it's like, oh, I have to do. I'm a bit late. Maybe I'm a bit lazy more than anything. Like setting my
well,
ways a bit
it's
without. Yeah.
the term lazy. Yeah, all of these words. And when I get on a
Yeah.
run, I think, oh, all right, is it really lazy, or does it seriously is not part of your world today?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. Anyway, I love talking to you. I love it. And
Yes, I bet.
as I said, it sparks something inside of me that I'm going to go away on a high for the rest of the day. So I thank you.
Have fun journaling, honey,
I will. I will.
and thank you. So
Thanks, Keryn.
until our next catch up
Next
and
catch up.
finesies.
Yeah.
Yep. Lots of love. See ya.
Love you too. Bye.
Good afternoon, come evening, young Miss Vicki. How you doing, honey?
Hi, Keryn. I'm very well, thank you.
Sentence. Oh wow, Australia's got Alps.
I know.
All right, my love. Big hugs to you. Thank you very much for chewing the fat with me today.